It's 3 a.m. You're awake. Again. Your heart isn't racing. You're not panicking. You're just lying there, staring at the ceiling, wondering what's wrong with you. Here's the strange part. Nothing is wrong with you. For most of human history, this exact moment, wide awake in the middle of the night, wasn't a malfunction. It was Tuesday. So what were your ancestors actually doing during these hours? And why does the modern idea of sleeping through the night turn out to be one of the newest habits in human history? Start with what most people assume. The assumption is simple. Humans evolved to fall asleep at dark, stay unconscious for 7 or 8 hours, and wake up once, all at once when the sun rises. One block, one switch. On, then off, then on again. That assumption is wrong, and it's wrong in a way that's been hiding in plain sight, in old letters, court records, and diaries for centuries. Historian Roger Ekirch spent years digging through pre-industrial European documents, looking for references to sleep. What he found again and again was a pattern nobody talks about anymore. People described going to bed shortly after dark, sleeping for a few hours, then waking up in the middle of the night. Not in distress, just awake. They called it first sleep. After waking, people would pray, talk, have sex, tend to a fire, or just lie quietly in the dark. Then, after an hour or two, they drift into second sleep until morning. 2 sleeps, with a quiet gap in between. This wasn't rare, it wasn't a disorder. It was described so casually, so often, that it barely needed explaining. It was just how nights worked. So when did this disappear? Artificial light. As cheap, reliable lighting spread, especially through the 1800s, bedtimes got pushed later and later. People started compressing their sleep into one block to make room for more waking hours in the evening. The 2-part night didn't vanish because it was unhealthy. It vanished because the world around it changed. But here's the question that really matters. Is segmented sleep just a European, candlelit era quirk? Or is it something deeper? Something built into human biology? To answer that, you'd need to find people living without electric light at all in the present day. And that's exactly what sleep researcher Jerome Siegel did. Siegel, a neuroscientist at UCLA, led studies on 3 traditional societies: the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, and the Tsimane in Bolivia, none of whom use electric lighting. His team tracked their actual sleep using wearable monitors, not surveys, not memory, real data. The results surprised a lot of people. These groups slept around 6.5 hours a night on average. They didn't go to bed the moment the sun set. They stayed up for hours after dark, often for several hours, before sleeping. And critically, the research found essentially no reports of chronic insomnia, despite sleep patterns that, by modern clinical standards, might look irregular or fragmented. In other words, the people living closest to how humans lived for almost all of history weren't sleeping in tidy, unbroken 8-hour blocks. And they weren't lying awake at night feeling broken about it either. So if waking in the night isn't the problem, what is? This is where it gets uncomfortable for anyone who's ever stared at a clock at 3 a.m. and felt their stress spike. Because here's the thing about that spike. The waking itself might be completely normal. Ancient, even. But the panic about the waking? That's new. That's modern. That's the part your ancestors probably didn't experience. Think about it from their side. If you wake up in the middle of the night with no artificial light, no phone, no glowing clock telling you exactly how many hours of productive sleep you're losing, what do you actually have? Darkness. Quiet. Maybe the sound of breathing nearby or a dying fire. There's no countdown. There's no failure. There's just night continuing. Compare that to now. You wake up, you check the time, 3:14. Your brain immediately runs the math. 4 hours until the alarm. Then the spiral starts. You need sleep. You're not getting sleep. Tomorrow is ruined. The thought of not sleeping becomes the very thing that keeps you awake. Sleep researchers, including work associated with Harvard's Charles Czeisler on circadian rhythms, have long pointed out that exposure to light, especially screens, in those waking hours, doesn't just keep you up. It actively pushes your internal clock later, making the next night harder too. Your ancestors waking in darkness weren't doing anything to disrupt their rhythm. You, reaching for your phone at 3 a.m., are sending your brain a signal that says it's daytime, stay alert. So the modern 3 a.m. wake-up isn't dangerous because you're awake. It's stressful because of everything you do next, and everything you believe about what that waking means. Here's the twist then. The thing that feels like evidence that your sleep is broken might actually be evidence that, for one brief moment, your body is doing something genuinely ancient. Something that fits a pattern your ancestors lived with for thousands of generations, long before anyone called it a problem. What's actually unusual, historically speaking, isn't the waking. It's the expectation that you shouldn't wake at all. That belief, the idea that a good night's sleep means total, unbroken unconsciousness from lights out to alarm, is barely 200 years old. A blip. A side effect of gas lamps and light bulbs and digital clocks, layered on top of biology that's far, far older. So here's the modern mirror. The next time you wake up at 3 a.m., notice what your mind reaches for first. Is it the dark, quiet awareness your ancestors might have felt, lying there, listening, simply present? Or is it the glowing screen, the countdown, the spiral of, I'm failing at sleep? The waking itself isn't the enemy. It might be one of the oldest, most human things you do. The enemy is the story you've been taught to tell about it. A story that's newer than the chair you're sitting in. It's 3 a.m. You're awake. Again. And for the first time, maybe that's not a problem to solve. Maybe it's just a very old rhythm, quietly continuing, exactly the way it always has.